the oppressive forces that were attempting to destroy his own and the people he loved. His narrative runs through the Jim Crow Texas of the 40s and the 50s, to the trails of migrant workers, to the prison rights movement, to the Chicano and American Indian, to Nicaragua, and finally Raul's years in Austin, nurturing the voices of young poets and incarcerated youth. Raul's story and poetry is a testament to the times when Native people in the United States and Latin America rose up against oppression and colonization and found radical transformation in their quest for liberation. Through Raul's stories and poetries in the context of history, we see both the evolution of a true American poet and the birth of new political force in the American politics of resistant movements. This film is currently in production and has received funding from ITVS Humanities Texas and the NALEC Fund for the Arts, supported in part by the Ford Foundation and J.P. Morgan Chase.
Cantaremos porque silence equals death. In proud voice, entonces let me exercise my right, aboriginal and otherwise, as we breathe one more time for those who gave up the spirit on 9/11, some gone to hell, some gone to heaven. 30 years plus we've been grieving, weaving our tears into spears of struggle. Feel las voces of the poets in the wind. Listen to the singing of the artist on communal walls. See la música splash rainbows on our souls. Loud and proud I sing my ritmos and rhymes in these times of patriotismo gone astray.
Ray Charles came to play here, and I was on parole. And I heard that a musician had kicked his drug habit who was playing with Ray Charles. And I thought, well, I'm glad that my friend is off drugs. I'll take him some marijuana. And I went with one of the most notorious street kids in town. And the cops all knew him, and they called out to him, and he ran, and I ran. I had to stash, and so I got sent to Huntsville. I got a 15-year sentence. After 2 years out on the streets, I found myself in prison again. And this time I was sent to Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary for 8 years. The charnel house awakens, and pent-up fears, frustrations, poison, and desires float out Missouri River bound. I wake to coffee made of bars and locks and wire and walls and guns, while every pore and fiber in my still mobile cadaver screams out for liberation. I think that that individual died in there, and a new individual was born. It was very painful, the transformation, but at the same time, it was something very new and very exciting because I was learning about things other than myself, the world around me, the struggles. But I had some incredible teachers. Rafael Cancel Miranda, an independentista, Puerto Rican, he really said something that frightened me when I left prison. He said, today your world ceased to be your own. It belongs to the people. We're about to cross the DMZ, or the MZ, I should say, the military line. The building boom of the 80s, and then the high-tech industry in the 90s, and now the runaway development with gentry. There's no room to breathe in. This is where I belong, right here with the Rezas family and the Lugos, and it was identity. This was my community. This is where I came from, and it felt good being part of this. All through here, all my aunts and uncles lived, all these houses here. And this is the street that kind of embodies the poem Trip Through the Mind Jail, because when I talk about you are torn pieces of my flesh, it has to do with that out of mind, out of body experience I had, or that dream that I was running up. I was on a tour, had a tour guide just like we are right now, and I was showing them the street where I had grown up, and I began to run up the street, and the wind hitting my face, and I was crying the closer I got to my aunt's house. And then I started like taking my clothes off, and as I was running up the hill, and then my skin, my tattoos, my body, I started just stripping, trying to get up to the top of that hill where I knew my aunt lived.
I was here. One of the cottages, I think they're still back here. I think I was 13 or 14. Got an eagle tattooed on his arm. Be on the lookout. He's a dangerous poet, and he's got a mean weapon. It's a pen. Paloma, neighborhood of my youth, demolished, erased forever from the universe. You live on, captive in the lonely cell blocks of my mind. Neighborhood of endless hills, muddied streets, all chuck hole lined, but never drank of asphalt. Kids barefoot, snotty nose, playing marbles, munching on bean tacos, the kind you'll never find in a cafe.
Well, a poeta land in our midst. You know, the guy, chaparrito de a tiro, pero he's got his jaw, he's got a jaw that like, you know what, don't mess with me, I got something to say. And he began to use his magical control and mastery of the words to put things succinctly into, this is what we're talking about, you know? This is who we are as a people. This is the nature of our oppression. Y se va entrando ese elemento, ¿no? Uplifting the beauty of the spoken word. Porque tú sabes, poesía, Edgar Allan Poe, you know, y que, I don't know, Shakespeare, y que luego la poesía nuestra, what about that one? Yeah, here's our poet, you know, here's the guy who speaks to our soul. And the voladas, we just, you know, I would do a political rap and you would hit him with the poetry, the soul, you know? In cantinas, in the barrios, in the ghettos, in the reservations, in the daycare centers, in the boardrooms, in the city council. Raúl, échale un poema, ¿no?
I was able to go to Washington State with the help of people there. They made me feel that I was worth something, that I was worth salvaging. And that's why I don't think that I can afford to have anyone throw a child away.
Escríbeme algo. Just write however it sounds to you. Just however it sounds to you. Don't be afraid or embarrassed. Spelling, you only left one L out. So I'll put the L and you got your spelling right. What else is a problem? Okay, we'll put that down there.
And they're saying, write about living on an island. And I said, well, write about living in the barrio. You write what you write from your heart and your soul, and ain't who's going to judge it? It's whoever wants to publish it. Dare to write it. Dare to write it. Don't be afraid to write it. People have to read those things. We have to make them uneasy.
After walking some 6-inch heels, trying to turn straight. After being beat up by a man who constantly beats you and belittles you and glorifies you all at the same time. You are like a prized possession. You are like a trained dog who is taught to perform tricks and bring in attention. What I'm trying to, I didn't finish, but the point that I'm trying to make across is that whatever people go through, you can always figure yourself out.
I got it.
Yeah, you want to read? Oh, yes, let's start.
Of the soul in America is rampant. Restraint in America has to be tempered, otherwise our souls will die. And I think he showed it. Resistencia shows it. Why would you call a bookshop Resistencia? You know, yeah, you might call it God's manna or some shit like that, but Resistencia. He's making a point. I am hot, and I'm bothered by repression at all levels. And so while I'm out here, I'm going to set up a bookcase and show you what to read. It'll show you how to get away from the restraints.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming out on this beautiful afternoon. Welcome to Resistencia Bookstore, Casa de Red Salmon Press, Casa de Red Salmon Arts, Casa de todos ustedes. We have been around struggling, stumbling, and making it for 23 years. From Pine Ridge to Chiapas, del barrio de la Loma a la selva lacandona. That same clamor, amor for the land, demanding derechos, los hechos. Queremos respeto, paz y dignidad. Exigimos justicia, tierra y libertad. In solidarity le canto a Chiapas y también a los Dene con much pasión indígena, quite indignant, that's for sure. Feliz Año Nuevo, land-grabbing terratenientes. Remember our teachings? Under pressure, the corn too will pop. Raíz de maíz, raíz de maíz, raíz de maíz. Love for the land demands liberation. Love for liberation. Return to the land. Return to the land. Return to the land. Amor, amor indio con amor india. Hoy y siempre somos Amerindia.
It's a tough act to follow. That was good. That was badass. One more time, guys. So I'm looking at this, you know, we're kind of reminded of exactly what he said, how our story, the ethnic story, is not told in the books that we read today. All right? It's important to get these stories out in whatever form that we can. All right? The idea behind these bills that are oppressive in nature, whether they want to call it that or not, I'll call them racist. The problem is that they don't come out and say we're racist. They come out and say, well, we're going to do this, which is going to keep a certain group of people down. And they don't point the finger and they don't say it's the blacks, it's the browns, it's the yellows, it's the reds. They just say whatever they want to say, and it's going to get turned